So in this video, I'm going to work on the idle air control. This is something I didn't have last time. I ran the motor a year ago. I did some new wiring and some modifications on my MegaSquirt board to be able to operate the idle air control. Wanted to talk about how it's wired to work on my 5.3 LS truck engine, early cable operated intake. Cable operated throttle. There we go. I've got my helper here today. He's going to help click on some of the options and make the idle air control motor run so we can hear the things that I heard that made me think it's working. I guess that's it. Let's go. Are you ready?
Right.
Okay. So my wiring for the idle air controller, I did the thing where you ohm out the pins right at the motor. Oh, move your hand out, helper. So the top two had 40 some ohms and the bottom two had 40 some ohms. The middle two had nothing. I'm sure you'll see that in the manual if you're building one of these. So the bottom wire is blue with a white stripe. This second wire from the bottom is blue with a black stripe. Next wire up is green with a white stripe, and then green with a black stripe. So I made these coil 1A, 2A, 1B, 2B. So I ran those wires to a DB9 connector, and as the video goes on you'll see that I ended up having to swap 1A and 1B to make this thing run in the right direction. Alright, I got Tuner Studio open. We're going to go to idle control. Can you do that?
Start up idle?
Yep. Idle control. You just missed it. Up a little bit. There. Okay, so my settings were stepper valve 4-wire. This one's not a 6-wire, but I guess that works for both. Open loop. I don't want any kind of control loop chasing its tail, so open loop to start. Timer step size. I tried moving that between 5 milliseconds and 1 millisecond. Down at 1 millisecond it just buzzed and didn't move. At 2 it seemed to work fine. So I put it at 3 just to make sure it's more reliable. Let it go slowly. Initial time step, I gave it 5 milliseconds to start the motion so that it doesn't just like hang and skip a beat. Again, to try to make it reliable. I found 385 homing steps is just enough to make this noise that I think is bottoming out. Homing direction closed. I honestly never looked at that. I believe that I should have had that. I believe that I should have known that the valve should be closed when that was homed, and I didn't figure that out until later. Crank to run taper time. I set this down to 3 seconds. That might be a little too slow. I might bump that up to 4 here. Hysteresis. I didn't mess with it all. Connection, power between steps. So I don't know what connection is. Power between steps, you can move to always on or hold current or powered when it's moving only. I had it set to hold current, and that pulse width modulates it so you're not overheating the motor just sitting there doing nothing. So always on might fry the motor. It might not hurt anything. I don't know. Hold current, pulse width modulates to reduce the current, but still try to keep it from drifting around or moving when you're not telling it to move. I don't know that that is necessary, but when I turned it on, the pulse width modulation made a noise in the idle air controller. I'll see if the camera will pick that up. So I turned it to moving only. Maybe someday I'll figure out that that doesn't work. But until then, here's what I did do. All right. Yeah, click on CAN bus test mode. Click that bottom test mode idle valve. All right, so we've got our idle valve homing steps at 380 and idle valve steps at 370. So what it should do is go all the way one direction to 380, and that'll be home. It'll overrun what the motor can do just a little bit. And then if we go to position 370, that should run it just about all the way the other direction, just enough to not buzz at a stop. All right, so I'll turn on the ignition to get connected. That was the sound of homing right against the stop. I'll show you what the idle valve looks like here. Click home. Test home position. Click on that. So that's homing all the way against the stop. Run position. Go ahead. Click it.
Do I go?
Yeah, click run. Click run position. It won't run. And that's the sound of just the motor traveling, moving the plunger. That should be kind of like wide open idle position, I guess. Not wide open throttled, but the idle air control is as open as it can get. So if I go back to home, it should make that sound of just motion and then a little bit of the bottomed out sound where it buzzes. Right at the end there. If I push home position again, it should just be all buzzing because it can't move any further. So now if I go back to the idle control settings and set a hold current on, we'll go back to run position. Oh, I think this requires a power cycle. Yeah, so I'll turn off the ignition. It's on again. I don't know if you can hear it, but that's the sound of the holding current. The pulse width modulation is making that buzz. All right, now you can hear that that buzz has gone away because I turned that holding current off again. So this is what's seeming to work to me right now. So just to clarify, on the wiring, this lowest wire is 1B for the MegaSquirt, and the blue with the black, second from the bottom, is 1A. The third one up, or green with a white stripe in my case, is 2A. And the highest wire up, green with a black stripe, is 2B. Those are all the idle outputs from the MegaSquirt.
Okay.
So on the idle settings, sorry, there we go. When the engine is cranking, I have 25 steps off of closed, just across the board. This is something that's set based on your coolant temperature. Right now it's like 50 degrees. It's not that warm out today, and the engine hasn't run overnight. So this is the extra air that's allowed in just to get it to fire, and then that tapers down over that time that we talked about earlier. So over 3 seconds. I'm going to bump that up to 4 seconds right now. Heck, let's just do 5 seconds. This lets it come down slowly so that you come down to idle without having it kind of dip an RPM too low and stall. So that's just the initial startup steps. And then the warm-up steps. This is set to 10 steps across the board. That was just enough to get it to idle over 600 RPM. I think I want to raise that a bit. That was a little too low yesterday. I was playing with this. But anyway, when you ramp down from the initial 20 over 5 seconds, it's going to come down to 10 steps according to this chart. So over 5 seconds it'll come down, and the idle will slowly creep down until you get down to this level. So I think I'll increase this to 15 across the board. To make these 15, you can click on a dot and drag it up. So I actually dragged to 28 there. It's not the easiest to hit exactly on your target, but how about we just type minus 40 degrees. I want, you know what, I'll just undo what I've done so far because I didn't mean to change that. I just want to change this to 15. We'll go 18. I wanted a bit more idle speed. And this 25 steps, I'm sorry I've been saying 20. 25 steps seemed to be enough of a blip that it would actually fire and start running. It was 140 degrees when I was doing this yesterday, so I don't know what it will be now. It might not be enough, but we'll try it. Alright, so that's set up. It'll warm up is set up, and I kind of want to see what my ignition table looks like when I'm doing this. Can I resize this? Oh, sweet. Alright, so we'll just watch where that goes while it's running. It should come down somewhere around here for idle, maybe right about there. Maybe here. We'll see. Alright, I'm going to fire it up, and you won't hear me talking while it does. Yeah, it's loud. Alright, so that was kind of a fast idle. Drop this down to 12. Or I'll just show you, I'll show you 8. Oh, it won't burn unless it's on and connected, so ignition on. I will burn the IAC steps table. Okay, and we'll watch the ignition again. Didn't seem to make very much difference. So we'll bring this up to 30 just to see if the RPM goes up. Realistically, I only need to change around this blue bubble to make an effect, but I've just been trying to make everything the same across the board so that there's not a variable involved. This thing's making a liar of me. I think I have to use some bigger numbers. I'll just make these all 50 as well. I'm going to turn it on and burn it. So we're sitting right here with 0 RPM at just about 100 kPa. So we're a little bit above sea level, it looks like. Anyway, let's start it up. That sounded like it was running a little faster. Alright, let's see if we get this moved over this direction a little bit more. Well, at least I could hear it idling a little higher this time. So that's what you play with to get your idle speed set. Now that this is up high, I think I'll just make this 100 to get it to go up to a good RPM, and I'll make this something like 30 just so we can hear it drop down. Looks like my coolant temp is coming up a little over 70 now. Where'd my ignition table go? Oh well. Burn it. Alright, this will let you see the RPM probably just as easy as watching the spark table, but I'll pull up the fuel table for fun. Sorry, I meant fuel, VE table. And these scales, you can edit these on MegaSquirt. These were just what were set from the Shannon Taylor tune that I copied from his Fairmont. Came from the Sloppy Mechanics wiki page. So you could hear it come down over a few seconds time. Next thing I will attempt is we'll drop that time down to a half a second and see if it stumbles. Turn it on and burn it. Looks like I missed a number here. Keep on doing that for some reason. All right. That came right down to idle just fine. I'll make that happen over a longer period of time and see what that sounds like. It didn't come down. I must not be getting to warm up at all. I wonder why that is. Alright, so I'm looking through some of the help about how to set up idle air control now that it's not working as I expected. And there's a hysteresis. The amount of coolant temperature must move before the idle position is changed. I'm wondering if that's why we didn't see any response bringing my idle down to the running temp. Not sure. I'm going to keep reading and get back with you. Alright, I've set the hysteresis to 0. We'll see if that works. I'm going to close the help. I'm going to burn it. Close that. And let's fire up the engine. Put your earmuffs on. So that seemed to climb down an RPM over 10 seconds. Just to make a wider RPM range for us to hear. Let's see if I can bump this up to 160. I'll burn it and start up again. come down to where I thought it would. I'll bring this back down to 4 seconds. What else can I do? I'll try doing the hold current. Okay, burn it. And let's look at a 3D map for fun this time. There's the ignition 3D. And we'll spin this around. Yeah, we'll go with that. So this way is RPM, this way is more load. Alright, that sounded like it was just coming right down to idle like I thought it would. So I'll set this to 10 seconds again and see if we can watch it drop down. Do a fuel VE map this time. Got RPM here, fuel map here. This is RPM, this is load. Should take 10 seconds to come down to idle. Burn the setting. Awesome, working perfect. So I wonder if that inconsistency that we had was from not setting the hold current. I'm going to try to set it to moving only again. Burn it. And I like that VE table. Alright, start it up. Oh, it stinks. That idle's a little too slow, so the warm-up position, I'll bring that up to, let's say, 60. And I'll burn it. I think I'm going to also slow down the taper. Okay. little high. I think somewhere around 900 RPM would be good, so I'm just kind of hunting for what's right there. I'll try 50 steps. And turn on that hold current again. Burn those settings. Temperature's getting up a little bit. It's probably like 126 degrees. I'm going to start a data log. What do I call this? I'll just copy that. How many steps did I set? 160. Idle 160 to 50 steps. Alright, should data log as soon as I start it. When I get up there in RPM, there's something it doesn't like about that. Coolant's up around 125. I think I might quit and let it cool off for a while. Let's see what the log says. Just let it play and watch the maps here. I wonder if things start getting too lean out here. This is where it was kind of jumping back and forth between cells while I was holding the throttle. So yesterday I took everything from 100 kPa down and multiplied by 50% to drop the amount of fuel because it was just making my eyes burn and I could see black smoke coming out the exhaust. So maybe I should have just kept that in the idle area because it seems like it's doing some funky lean stuff out here. This gets a lot easier when you install your wideband O2, but I haven't done it yet. For today, I think I'm pretty happy with what the idle was doing in response to the idle air controller. Another thing you can look at in Log Viewer and Megalog Viewer is the number of steps being commanded. So that's somewhere around here, right here. Stepper idle position 50%. Try this zoomed in a little bit. This is stepper idle position. It says 49 steps. I think this is the graph for it. Let's play the log. Alright, 160, and you can see it dropping down to 50. for idle. And it just stays there through the rest of the log. So it's cool to see it doing what I expect it to do. Got my VE table open here. I'm going to see if I can make it leaner at idle and richer up here on through. So I'll make this one a little bit leaner. I'll multiply by, we'll take out 20%, so we'll multiply by 0.8. And then out here, let's say a little over 3,000 RPM, it seemed to start missing on me. So I'll select these and multiply by 1.2. So I guess we're adding 20% there. But I actually want to do that on out across the board. So multiply by 1.2. Then from here to here, I'm going to, I don't know if it's an option, interpolate horizontally. Maybe I can only do that. Who knows? All right, let's see what it does. What did I just do? Interpolate. We'll see what happens. Will it run? Alright, I should start a data log before I do this. Okay, burn it. And we'll start it. Well, it still pops and doesn't want to stay steady, but I can get this thing in the car and I'm pretty sure I can drive it in and out of the barn. It looks like you can adjust your fuel pretty widely without it dying, so that's always fun to hear. I'll just see what that looks like on the 3D. At least it goes uphill a little bit now. I bet that probably wants to go uphill some more, but when I get it in the car and have the O2 sensor, I'll be able to do this a lot faster. We did a wideband O2 on a carbureted vehicle once, and it made things so much faster to jet it and play with the accelerator pump and everything, so I imagine it's the same deal for EFI.